Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I want to start out by saying I'm sorry. It's been a couple of weeks since I put out a video. I'll do a separate video on what's been going on, but there have been a lot of changes taking place in the last couple of weeks. So we'll talk about that later. So today, let's get into today's video, a Fired Up Friday video. It's a little different. What I am going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a comparison on lighters. I've got a standard Bic. I've got a Zippo with the Zippo brand Butane Insert. And then I have got the electronic arc lighter that was given to me by Ron T. Sawyer, the legend. So I want to compare the three of them. I've used the first two a lot. Everybody's seen Bics and Zippos, both kinds, with the butane, with the standard, and all that stuff. The arc lighter is something that's new to me. I saw those when they first come out, and when they first come out, they were running about the same prices as Zippo, somewhere in that $20 to $30 range. Not sure what they are now. I never really gravitated toward them when they come out. This is my first experience with one, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So, what we're going to do, sorry about that, dog bumped the tripod. We're having a storm, and I've got two dogs that are scared to death of storms. And then the one that keeps bumping the tripod is a foster that we're fostering. And bless her heart, she's almost completely blind, so she can't see to help from bumping into it. But I regress from that, and let's get back into what's going on here. So let me turn you around here. I've got a few things. I've got some cedar bark, Old Faithful, cotton balls, and rubbing alcohol. And we're just going to start out with those. I've got a piece of paper here. We'll play with it a little. So let's get this started. We'll use some of this cedar and do everybody's Old Faithful and go to the Bic Lighter. And there we go. Everybody knew that wasn't going to be an issue. So that being done, let's go to the Zippo. The butane. I really like the butane over the original insert. And in a few minutes, we'll get into why I went with the butane and talk about that. Now, we'll use the electronic arc lighter. This is where I have come across something interesting with it. With the arc lighter, if you cannot get the tinder up between the electrodes, it will not ignite. So you really have to play with the placement of the electrodes in there to get the tinder up in it, to get it to ignite. Now, let's go to Old Reliable here. Three different piles here. Oh. all knew how these two are going to go. And the electronic. No problem igniting all of them. As most people know, when you're using cotton balls soaked in rubbing alcohol, all you've got to do really is ignite the fumes off of the rubbing alcohol, and no issues. I've got the slow match that I got from James at Harshman Hills. I've been messing with it as well. There it is with the Bic. There it is with the Zippo. And let's do it with the arc. And there it is with the arc. It takes a little more to get it going with it than it does the other two where there's no open flame. So there's that. I'll have a video coming up on this here shortly. Got a couple of things I'm going to play with on that. Now, that being said, let's show you where I have found this little arc lighter to come into its own. What I've got here is just standard, well, I say standard, it's 250 paracord instead of 550. It's the little half-size paracord. We've all melted paracord with an open flame lighter. I want to show you what this does. Now, that quick. And if you noticed, there was no open flame at all with it. And it does the same thing with the larger paracord. I have come to use this thing as my go-to for finishing paracord because there's no fear of setting it on fire. I have held it and never had an open flame on regular paracord. Now, does that mean that you can't get an open flame? No, it does not. If you held it long enough, it may actually ignite. Here. So, I've never seen it happen. That doesn't mean it can't. But this little thing has been the handiest thing to finishing up paracord. Even, let's get some of the heavier stuff here. Even with bank line. Get my hand up here so you can see it. Same thing. Just as slick and just few seconds, and it melts the end of it tight. So this, to me, is where this lighter really comes into its own and shines. Not saying it's not good for everything else. That's just where I have come to use it the most. Let's talk about the 3 real quick. Start out with the Bic. It is the most inexpensive one of the bunch. I think these things are anywhere from $1 to $1.50 around here. Maybe when you get into some of the designer ones that have the print on them or the little pictures on them and stuff, they may be $2 a pop. These things have been around forever. Everybody knows how to use one. The only drawback to these is if you fall and you've got one in your pocket, you can crush it, break it, fluid's gone. There you go, no more lighter. You still got the spark wheel if you've got tinder that you can ignite with it. Get them wet. Everybody knows sometimes these things can be a pain in the butt to dry out when they're wet. The other thing, if you have marginal tinder and you light this thing up and hold it until you get your tinder lit and then it goes out, that little spark wheel right there will be hot, 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 to the point that I have branded myself numerous times with it. Now, the Bic, or not the Bic, I'm sorry, the Zippo. Everybody knows a Zippo. This started out as a plain Zippo with the fuel reservoir and the wick and the cotton and all of that. I loved the fact that strike it, get it lit, and then you could just set it down. Loved that fact. What I did not love is when you would fill this thing with fluid. If the fluid leaked out while it was in your pocket, you ended up with a chemical burn on your leg. The other thing is it never failed. Fill this thing up, put it in your pocket, carry it for a week or so and never use it, and then pull it out and all the fluid had evaporated off of it. Hence why I went with the Butane Insert. It's a Zippo brand insert. You can adjust the flame on it up and down, and you just fill it up. It's self-contained. You don't have to worry about getting it wet, anything like that. I have found with this that if you do get it wet, take it, open it up, shake it off, blow in the end of it, and within 1 or 2 strikes or clicks, it'll fire right back up. This is a whole lot easier to dry out than a Bic Lighter. And then plus this one here, when it goes bad or goes empty, you just fill it back up. This one here, I have had it for a little over a year. I filled it up when I first got it, and I have topped the tank off on it once. And I use it several times a week, sometimes a couple of times a day, depends on what I'm doing. Now, the little arc lighters. They have their advantages. Every one of them I've ever seen come in this kind of case. I do believe now that Zippo is making an arc lighter to fit in one of these. But aside from that, most of them come in these kind of little cases. And these cases are waterproof. There is no area to dry off so much with these as there is with the others. If one of these were to get wet, I would say you would be able to take your shirt or blow on them and get that dried off, get the water off the end of them, and it would arc right up. These do not require fuel, but they do require a power source to charge them. This one comes with a little charging cord that plugs in there, and then the other end has a USB port on it. Charge it up in your vehicle if you have a port. If you have a cell phone block, you can charge it. If you have one of these for your car, you can charge it. Plug it in the side of your computer, your tablet, whatever. As long as you have a USB plug, you can plug this thing up and charge it. Price-wise, from what I've seen, a traditional plain Jane Zippo and one of these, they run about the same price. That's using a Zippo with a regular insert. The Butane Insert, I paid an extra, I think, 13, 14 bucks for it. So there's that added expense. But this and a regular Zippo run about the same price. The only drawback I have seen to these is when it comes to lighting natural tinder. You have to be able to get that tinder, whatever you're using, up in between the electrodes, or you're not going to get it lit. That's the only disadvantage I've seen to these. The biggest thing I've seen with this that I love more than anything else is when it comes to burning any kind of cordage, melting the ends of it. This thing is just phenomenal at that. So, are they junk? No, they are not. They are a viable source of ignition. But when it comes to natural tinder, tinder size and tinder type comes into play drastically. Now, if you've got a piece of paper that you can ignite and then stick it into your tinder to get it lit, not so much of an issue. But how many of us always have paper on us when we're out in the field? So there you go. This one did come with the charging cable, come with a nice little neck lanyard. So again, they're viable. Make sure they're charged up good before you go out, because I have no idea how long the charges last on these things. I have charged this one up and just messed with it here at the house, and it's still charged, but it may go out the next time I use it. I don't know. So there you go. Just a quick demonstration for Fired Up Friday between the different types of lighters out there. It's really up to your personal preference. So there you go. Like, share, subscribe. I'll get another one up for you soon. Oh, and by the way, go over, check out Ron T. Sawyer. Ron, thanks for the lighter. Y'all have a good one.